Len Joy attended University of Rochester, where he got his BA and MBA, and he and his wife, Suzanne, moved to Chicago in 1974, where she attended law school and he went to work at the U.S. Gypsum Company. He left Gypsum in 1988 to go into business with his brother-in-law running an engine remanufacturing company in Phoenix, Arizona. They operated that business for 15 years and closed it down in 2004. After commuting back and forth between Chicago and Phoenix, he turned his attention to writing and competing in triathlons. Now, isn't that a combination, being a writer and also competing in triathlons? His first novel, American Pastime, was published by Hark, New Era Publishing, in April of 2014. Last year, a collection of his short fiction, Let It Go, was published, and also his novel, Better Days. It was described as a character-rich, skillfully plotted Midwestern drama. Anyway, after he speaks today, he'll have available for sale copies of his 2 novels and short story collection. He's a nationally ranked age group triathlete and a member of Team USA, which represents the USA in international triathlon competition. You see what his talk is going to be about here? So, if anybody in here would like to become a triathlon athlete or run in a marathon, you know, they have competition for older people. It ain't for me, though. But anyway, I never considered myself a runner. Anyway, Len, welcome.
It's great to be back here again, to be part of the North Shore Senior Center program. Very much appreciate this opportunity. As Jay said, I was here last February to talk about my experience getting my first novel, a little handout here, American Pastime. And then in July last year, I had this collection of short stories published. And I just learned last week that's been nominated, selected anyways, as a Indie Book of the Year award in the category of war and military. So that was a big thrill for me. And in September, my novel Better Days came out, and I'll have copies, as Jay said, available at very affordable prices for anyone who's interested afterwards. Now, when I spoke here last February, I said the alternative title for my talk was How to Write a Novel, which seems presumptuous given I'd only written one novel. However, I pointed out I wrote that novel 6 times, so I had more experience than it might appear. And using that same airtight logic, the alternative title for this talk is How to Run a Marathon. And my marathon experience, like my novel writing experience, is modest. I've only run 2 marathons. But in this modern era, it doesn't really take that much to call yourself an expert. A lot of novels start at the end of the story, and they flash back to how the protagonist, victim, or hero got to that point. And I'm going to try that approach. On April 17th, 2017, my wife Suzanne's birthday, I ran in the Boston Marathon. So where did that journey start? After much reflection, I have concluded it all began on February 5th, 1978. I was 26 years old, and Suzanne and I were living in an apartment in Rogers Park. I was working for U.S. Gypsum Company as a treasury manager, and Suzanne was a first-year law associate working for Schiff Hardin and Waite. My mom had given me this day planner as a Christmas gift, and I was using it to record my daily activities. Here's my entry for February 5th, 1978. 10 a.m., went to church. Eggs, bacon, juice, coffee. I was always recording my food time. I always wanted to be a lower weight than whenever I was, so I was recording that. Went to YMCA, injured knee in first 5 minutes of game, the basketball game. Put ice on it at home. Read Gathering Storm. I was working my way through Churchill's 6-volume edition of World War II. Had difficult time sleeping because of knee. To say that that was an understated recounting of that accident would be a huge understatement. That incident at the Evanston Y took place over 41 years ago, and I can still remember the sick feeling as I was driving in for a layup and I could feel my knee just bend sideways and the bone sliding out of place. It hurt like hell. I crawled off the court. I went to the emergency room the next day for crutches and a week later for a follow-up exam. I was fortunate that the exam was done by Dr. Howard Sweeney, a well-known orthopedic surgeon. He told me I had torn my ACL. I didn't even know what that was. He said it's difficult to repair, and he recommended, given that I wasn't a professional basketball player, that instead of surgery, I do physical therapy to strengthen the knee. The injury was a shock to my youthful psyche. I'd never been injured. I thought I was invincible. I was playing basketball all the time back then. Weekly games at the YMCA, pickup games in Toohey Park. I even played for Suzanne's law firm team. I loved the game, and I was desperate to play again. But Dr. Sweeney said no running. Obviously, no basketball for at least a month, maybe more. I asked him what I could do, and he said swim. I grew up on a lake, and I knew how to swim sort of, but I had never been able to swim laps. I would swim the length of a pool, stop, catch my breath, then swim another length. I wasn't excited about an exercise regimen of swimming, but I followed his orders and started swimming at the Y pool. In my journal, I would record swam 20 laps. I didn't mention that I was resting at the end of every lap. But something happened. I got better at swimming, because in my book here, I noted for March 29th, swam 12 laps in a row, learned rhythmic breathing, and I used an exclamation mark, and I don't think I used one in the whole 10 years I was recording these events. I was clearly excited to swim 300 yards. And on that day, I never would have believed that 40 years later, I'd swim 2.5 miles in an Ironman competition. But that's a different journey. I was anxious to get back to the basketball court. Finally, on April 17th, Dr. Sweeney cleared me to run and had me fitted for a knee brace. I was supposed to wear that brace whenever I played basketball, tennis, squash, any sport where I'd be twisting my knee. I hated the brace. It was metal and leather, and it felt like it weighed 50 pounds. On May 3, I recorded, played basketball for first time in 3 months. On May 5th, played basketball, re-injured knee slightly. Then on August 6th, played 2-on-2 basketball at Toohey Park. Knee buckled, did not have brace. I played basketball because it was fun, but the brace took all the fun out of it. Finally, Dr. Sweeney concluded I needed surgery. So Memorial Day in 1979, I checked into the Evanston Hospital for my ACL surgery. I noted